Hey everybody, Bill 1911 here. For those of you that are regular watchers of the channel, I got some good news. Well, I don't know if it's good news, but it is news. We are always trying to improve on what we're doing to make our videos a little better each time. So I'm going to turn the camera around. Well, actually, I'm probably going to just walk around to it and show you a piece of equipment that we just bought for making these videos. This should help to make things a little smoother, a little more seamless. So with that, okay, I'm going to show you what we did here. We bought, okay, this device, okay, and what this is it's a pan and tilt that operates by remote control. We can press the button and it will re-angle the camera to wherever we need it. So that should help us to smooth things out a little bit, make things work a little better. But I just wanted to give you the news on what we're doing. Like I said, we always try to improve and make things a little bit better. We started out with one camera and really bad lighting. As you can see, we have changed our lighting setup significantly. There's a lot of lights here that focus on what we're doing. So that's what we're working on, and with that, the next thing I wanted to show you was what we're going to be working on today. Okay, this little Taurus revolver is a 9-shot 22 long rifle target pistol, and it's extremely accurate. It's a really good gun. It has an adjustable rear sight. It's a very comfortable gun to shoot. Like all 22s, there's little or no recoil to it. You pull the trigger, it's pop. And it's comfortable. You can develop some very good shooting habits when using a 22. Shooting a 9mm, one of the things that commonly happens is people start anticipating recoil. Well, that's where learning how to perfect your shooting skills with a 22 can be really beneficial to you, can help a lot. So with that, we'll get on to opening this thing up and cleaning it. As I said, this is a 9-shot revolver, okay? It's got 9 holes in the cylinder, and it's 22, so it's cheap to shoot. It's just a fun little gun. It's very similar in its design to a Smith & Wesson, almost identical as a matter of fact. It has a couple of things on it that are a little different, okay? If you'll look, I'm going to try and show you this. If you'll look, right here in the back of this hammer is a little screw, and this screw actually is a kind of a key. And it allows you to back that screw out and make it so you can't cock the gun at all, okay? This is just a little kid-proof safety device that Taurus put on this revolver to try and make them a little safer and something that you don't have any problem with. I've never actually used this. I don't have any kids, so that's not an issue. Now I have children in my life, just not here. Okay, so clean this thing is like we would clean any other revolver. Okay, we're going to open it up. We're going to get our cleaning supplies out, and we're going to go to work. Okay, hey, we're back. All right, this is our 22. We're going to need a few things to clean it. We're going to need 22 caliber patches. Now, 22 caliber patches are very small, and there is a reason for it. I'm going to point out some areas to you on this jag that are kind of, well, they are the issue. This part, the body of the jag, okay, right through here, all right, let me put this in the palm of my hand so the autofocus works a little better. This part of the jag is designed to have enough clearance for the patch to go between it and the barrel as you push this up the barrel. This part of the jag back here on the back, right next to where the threads are, is a little larger in diameter, okay? Also, the cleaning rod is also a bit larger in diameter even than that. Okay, so as you can see, there's some sizes here that get progressively bigger. So if you have a patch that comes down around this jag, pardon me, to this point just on the body of the jag, it'll fit right through the barrel with no problem. It has the required clearance to get through. But if that patch is so big that it starts getting back here up onto the thicker parts of the rod, then it doesn't have the clearance to get through with the patch on the jag. So for that reason, we need to use small patches with cleaning a 22. I'm going to try, as I go along, to give you a little bit more detailed information on these guns. We start out with simple stuff, and we progress from there. Now, I've told you in the past that this area of the barrel is called the throat of the barrel, okay? Well, that's not quite accurate, okay? The very beginning of this barrel is actually cone-shaped. It's conical, okay? And what that does is it gets that bullet started into that conical shape so that it can slip in and then engage the rifling, all right? So that conical part of the barrel at the very beginning here on revolvers is called a forcing cone, okay? And that just kind of gets the bullet aligned and engaged into the rifling. Pardon me. Wow. Allergies. Where the rifling starts, which is going to be somewhere in this area right about here, maybe as far up as the beginning of the barrel, where the rifling begins is where the actual throat of the barrel is, okay? The part that's between the rifling and right here at the opening of the barrel, that part is called the forcing cone. Okay, so as I said, we're going to try to get more detailed as we go along on different parts, different actual technical terms. And we're going to try to, when we do simpler videos, we're going to try to do things in a way that is more descriptive than accurate as far as the names of the parts are concerned. All right, so to start with, I'm going to start cleaning up the outside places on this gun that we can get to easily. And what we're going to do is we're going to wet a patch and just get those powder deposits wet, okay? Getting them wet is going to allow us to clean them off a lot easier. Those powder deposits get pretty hard, all right? They've got carbon in them, they got lead in them, they got a lot of different things in them, and so we're going to need to get into these tight spaces and clean them up. So we're going to use our patch here and just get things, mopped out so they're wet. Once they're wet, then we can brush things and get them really clean, all right? So one of the biggest areas that gets really filthy on a revolver is when the gun goes off, hot gases escape from between the front of the cylinder and the back of the forcing cone on that barrel, okay? And that burnt powder and lead and all the rest kind of plasters itself all over the place. That's just the nature of revolvers. So we're going to get in there and clean up as much of this stuff as we can get to. Now there's one thing that is going to happen on these that might lead you to believe that the gun is dirty when it actually isn't. And that is we do get some charring or darkening of the steel that's on these stainless steel guns. It's there on blued guns, you just can't see it because they're blued, all right? So, like I said, we're just going to get things cleaned up. There's some really nice products. One of them is made by a company called Birchwood Casey that does a really good job of removing those burn stains from your stainless steel guns. So that's just something to keep in mind. One thing that's going to be a little bit more difficult on this gun is to keep straight which cylinder you just cleaned. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, after I push the patch through, I'm going to take something, whatever, it doesn't matter. I can use an old, if I can find it, I have it around here, an old wire tie that you can use to stick into your cylinder and keep track of it. If you don't have something like that, you can always use your brush. Just don't really shove it in there deep. Just put it just in the very beginning, okay, so that you have marked what cylinder you are working on, okay? So from there, or what chamber you're working on, excuse me. So from there, I'm going to move to the second chamber and clean it the same way. I'm just going to push the patch through, okay, and out the other side, okay? So what this is doing is this is wetting the inside of the chambers to start dissolving those powder deposits and make them, well, cleanable. So what I generally use for a patch is called double-sided or double nap flannel. Okay, it works very well for me. I like using it. It soaks up a lot of the liquid material, but when you compress it, it squeezes out like a sponge, so you get a good bit of material inside all of the openings of the gun. Now these patches have two sides because they're double nap. It means they have the nap on both sides. And that allows us to go through, and every other cylinder, okay, we push it through, we simply take that patch, okay, and we're going to turn it inside out and use the clean side of the patch, okay. Just makes it easier. 1, 2, 3, we're working on the fourth one. So all I'm doing is keeping a count of where I am on cleaning these cylinders, okay? Okay, now the other thing I'm doing is I'm progressively rotating my cylinder so that the hole that's on top is the one that I'm working on. Alright, so that's got all of the chambers cleaned up on this thing, okay? Now, from here, we're going to take our patch, alright, or not our patch, our brush, and we're going to go ahead and go through each one of those chambers, okay, one at a time with the brush. But what we're going to do is we're going to take that brush and we're going to push it all the way through and out the other side, just like we've done on every other gun we do. The reason why is because if you push it part way through in reverse directions, these bristles don't have anywhere to go inside that cylinder, and they will kink. And when they kink up, it shrinks the diameter of this brush, and that makes it not as efficient as far as cleaning the gun is concerned. So we're going to push it all the way through like that, okay? All the way through, come all the way back. We're going to do that a couple of times on each one of these chambers. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3, 8. Alright, so that's got all 9 chambers have been brushed now. So from here, I'm going to take a break for just a second and change my gloves that I tore a minute ago, and that way it'll keep the chemicals off my hands. So we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We went ahead and mounted the jag back onto our rod again to clean our barrel. Okay, so it's the same as any other gun we've ever cleaned. We wet a patch, we stick it through the barrel, wet everything inside the barrel, and once the deposits have been wet, then we're going to switch to our brush and brush out the inside of the barrel. So, very simple procedure that's no different than any other time. Now on the end of the jag, there's a sharp little tip, okay, and that sharp little tip stabs through the patch and holds it in place, okay. Just makes it a little easier to keep it under control. So, one thing about pushing this jag through this barrel, you want to try and avoid pushing it all the way until it bangs up against the back of the frame like that, okay, which is very difficult to do. The reason why is because it will blunt the tip of your little jag here, which is not something that's really desirable. We're going to turn it around, stick the jag right back through the same hole, okay, and use the other end of the patch, okay. So here we go. Now, sometimes you can just grab it and just push it through easily like that and try to control the way it comes out the other end and not bang it against the frame, okay. Well, we've been through twice, so we should be good and wet inside that barrel. So now we're going to change to our brush, and we're going to try and follow the same procedure as we did before about running it all the way through. Here's where we're going to end up with a problem, okay? This brush is so long that at some point it's going to come to a stop, and I'm going to have to pull it back the other way, and that's going to start damaging this end of this brush, okay? So getting a really long 22 brush is nice, but it's also nice to have a short one if you can find one, all right? So this is what we're going to work on now. Now, once we push this through, when I start to change directions and pull it back out, you're going to see there's going to be considerable resistance on this brush as those bristles start to kink. So I'm going to have to pull it pretty snugly, pretty sharply to get it to turn around. And it did all right. All right, so we're going to keep going until we get this bore cleaned out. It's going to take us 4 or 5 shots at it to get it done. All right. So, that's got the bore brushed. Now, I missed a little spot before when I was kind of house cleaning here. Right back here in the back of the gun. So I'm going to just give that a little bit more attention right now. Alright. And what I'm probably going to do is use my bronze brush on this to get a good job on that. This brush right here is bronze, and that means that it's softer than the stainless steel of the frame of this gun. And it allows us to get things nice and clean in here. So that's what we're going to use on it to get this as clean as possible. We're also going to do the area around the forcing cone here, because there's a lot of little sharp corners in there that are hard to get to with a rag or a patch. So we're just going to clean them up. Alright, so from here we're going to start using a dry patch. Okay, now the dry patch, what that's going to do for us is it's going to remove all of the liquid that's still inside the bores of the gun, meaning where the chambers go through the cylinder and where the inside of the barrel. Because what happens is all of the dirt that we just broke loose by using the brush is now suspended or floating inside the liquid that's still inside the barrel. So we need to get that out of there. So we're going to start by putting our jag back on. And we're going to start and do the same procedure we did before. Okay. Now if you look at this patch, okay, it took a lot of crap out of the inside of that cylinder. Okay. So every time we do this, we need to reverse and use the other side of the patch. Alright. So what I'm going to do, so I don't lose track, just what I did before. Stick the brush in there so I got control of it. So I know where it's at. Alright, so this will be the second one. Okay. Now we're going to number 3. And we'll go right through and get all of them done. Okay, so we got all 9 of our cylinders cleaned out, and now we're going to go ahead and do the barrel. Now, this process of putting the liquid in the barrel, then brushing the barrel, and then dry patching the barrel out can be repeated as many times as you need. You don't have to just do it once and think it's done. When you look inside there, if things don't look clean to you, then you can go ahead and do it again as many times as is necessary, because you're going to find that there's a lot of stuff that's inside that gun. Okay, so we're going to switch our patch around and go the other way again. Okay, so we put 2 dry patches through it, and now we're going to examine the barrel. Now, on a revolver, there's no way to just look through all the way through the barrel and see the whole thing. So what you're going to need to do is reflect light up into the barrel, okay? So in order to see, so we can inspect our bore, we're going to take one of these bigger patches, one of these 30 caliber patches. If you don't have one, you can always use a piece of paper, okay? But we're going to slip that inside of the frame of the gun like that. So what that's going to allow us to do is reflect light into the barrel, and if I can get it just the right angle, you should be able to see right through that barrel, and you can inspect it to see how clean it is, okay? And it looks pretty good. I think I need to run another dry patch through it. So I'm going to do that and then inspect again. Now, after we've done all this, there's one more step once we get everything clean, and that's to run an oil patch through our bore. Okay, now we want to do that because we need to keep oil on surfaces that potentially can rust. Now, I know it's stainless steel, and you think, well, stainless steel doesn't rust. Well, I can assure you that is not true. Stainless steel does rust, okay? So we need to make sure that we run an oil patch down this bore to keep it oiled, all right? So it's harder for stainless steel to rust, but it is not impossible. Now, part of that also depends upon the quality of the stainless steel. Cheaper stainless steels rust pretty easily. More expensive ones don't. Most guns are made of pretty good steel, so most of them don't rust, but on occasion you'll get some that absolutely will rust. Alright, so, and that looks much better down that barrel. Okay, cool. So, that cleans up the inside of the gun. There are a couple more places that we're going to want to try and make sure we've got good and clean. And then we're going to move on to oiling the gun. Now, believe it or not, you can collect enough garbage right in here in this area of the frame to where it doesn't want to close all the way, and it'll fight you a little bit. So you want to just make sure you keep that swept out, that whole area. I have actually had guns come in that were dirty enough that it became a problem. So it's not like it can't happen. But there is one other area that I wanted to show you on this gun that will need attention. When you take this rod and you press it backwards, it takes that little star wheel, and what that'll do is push the cartridge cases, empty cartridge cases, out of the cylinder so you can empty it. Well, you're going to get stuff back behind there too, including that powder solvent that we just stuck in there. So I'm going to stick a patch in there while holding it open and just clean it out, okay? Not a big deal, not hard to do. Okay, just get in there and clean her up. Once we get all that cleaned up, then it's going to be time to get some oil in this revolver. All right. Now, I get a lot of comments saying, oh, you're using too much oil. Well, I got to tell you, that kind of depends upon what area of the country you're in. Down here in South Florida, we have a humidity problem that is honestly worse than any other place. It's bad. It's so bad that during the summertime, if you take this gun out of your house and it's a hot day outside, you're walking out into literally 90-95% humidity all the time. And your gun is going to be at about 75 degrees because it's been in the air conditioning and it's cool. So you walk outside, you get that 20-degree shift in temperature, and this gun will actually start to sweat, okay? And you'll end up with water in places that will very much surprise you that they're in there. So I generally tend to oil on the heavy side for that reason. It's not something I'm doing just because I like using too much oil. There is actually a reason for it. So a lot of these places you'll see me put oil, and if you're in a drier climate, you're not going to have that kind of a problem. So I believe that a gun needs to be oiled in quite a number of circumstances based on where you live, okay? Now let's say you live up in northern Canada or in Siberia or someplace where it's really cold, okay? Certain oils and greases can actually freeze solid, okay? And when that happens, things slow down and the gun just doesn't work right. Now, on a revolver, you'd have to really go some for that to happen. But I like to try and oil things so that that doesn't happen. One of the places that I'm adamant about oiling is on any safety, or excuse me, not safety, but any release mechanism, like this button that releases the cylinder, okay? Now, I'm going to want to put some oil in there because if this thing freezes up, you can't get the gun open. And that's not a good situation. So, if you find you got a lot of oil on there and there's excess, dry it off. It's not going to hurt anything, all right? So, there we go. That is our little 9-shot 22, all right? And there we are. This gun is a Taurus. Really nice little piece. Hey everybody, Bill 1911 here. If you found this video to be helpful and informative, don't forget to like us, and please subscribe, and by all means come to visit us at askbill1911.com. Also, I want to talk to you about something that's very important to us, and that's your safety. So please, don't try any of the things you see on our videos until you have thoroughly reviewed and understood our safety procedures. If you're under 18 years of age, do not try any of these topics without the express permission of your parent or guardian. Thank you.